Google just dropped their much anticipated Gemini 2.0 Pro along with two new versions of Gemini 2.0 Flash. Meanwhile, US Senator Josh Hawley wants jail time for anyone who downloaded DeepSeek's AI model. And lastly, Apple is quietly developing a tabletop robot with a working prototype already in hand. Let's get into it. So with all the talk about China's DeepSeek and OpenAI's new reasoning models, Google has kind of fallen out of the spotlight in the AI space. But while they haven't been making as many headlines, they've definitely been busy. Here are some of their latest announcements. Gemini 2.0 Flash is now generally available with higher rate limits, stronger performance, and simplified pricing. Gemini 2.0 Flash-Lite, a new variant that is our most cost-efficient model yet, is now available in public preview. And Gemini 2.0 Pro, an experimental update to our best model yet for coding and complex prompts, is now available. So essentially we have an updated version of Gemini 2 Flash, an updated version of Gemini 2 Pro Experimental, and a brand new model, Gemini 2 Flash-Lite. This chart gives us a great breakdown of each of these models' features and capabilities. Firstly, all of these models are either available or generally available right now. They all accept multimodal inputs, meaning you can attach an image or a PDF along with your query, although they don't yet have multimodal outputs like image and audio. As for context window length, we have 1 million, 1 million, and 2 million for Gemini 2 Pro Experimental. These are by far the largest context windows you'll see, even amongst other frontier models. And finally, both Flash and Pro have search and code execution as a tool. Now, the real question is, how does it perform? So I won't go through every single benchmark here, but just comparing the scores of Gemini 1.5 Pro to Gemini 2 Pro, you got 75.8 to 79.1% on the MMLU, 34.2 to 36% on Live Code Bench, and 59.1 to 64.7% on the GPQA. These slight improvements are honestly kind of underwhelming. Even when comparing the two Flash models, the improvements are not that significant. What these models do have going for them though is their price. 10 cents per million tokens for 2.0 Flash, and even less than that for the new 2.0 Flash-Lite. For reference, here is OpenAI's pricing for GPT-4o and GPT-4o Mini per million tokens. Gemini 2.0 Flash, which is nearly on par with GPT-4o, is literally cheaper than GPT-4o Mini. One more thing to mention is that their Gemini 2.0 Flash thinking model, which released around a month ago, now has access to apps like YouTube, Maps, and Search. You can have it watch long YouTube videos for you and summarize them, or even have it find you a good place to eat nearby. So overall, this feels like a bit of an underwhelming job from Google. Yes, their models are super cheap for developers and they offer long context lengths, but they're not really pushing the frontier of AI performance or intelligence. I personally expected more from Gemini 2.0 Pro. Let me know how you guys felt about this release though. Were you expecting more from Google, or are you satisfied with what they delivered? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Now, here's a tweet that's been going pretty viral recently. This guy had two AI models, both DeepSeek R1, interact with each other. And what he discovered is pretty wild. After a while, the models started communicating in their own made-up language, using strange, esoteric symbols instead of words. The only reason he even realized this was happening was because of the model's internal chain of thought reasoning. He states, "This entire R1 backroom session was randomly conducted in a language of symbols. Without the chain of thought, I wouldn't have known what was going on." Sonnet was very excited that it could be a new form of communication, but O3 with Search pointed out that it is the alien language substitution cipher. So it turns out O3 was right, the secret language wasn't actually made up, but instead it was pulled off this random website by one of the DeepSeek models. Still kind of scary though that these models decided to converse using symbols completely unprompted, as this post seems to insinuate. While we're talking about DeepSeek R1, there's been some claims floating around about the model not being safe. For example, this article published on February 4th claims that DeepSeek gets an F in safety from researchers. Diving a little deeper, they state, researchers at Cisco tasked Chinese AI firm DeepSeek's headline-grabbing open-source model, DeepSeek R1, with fending off 50 separate attacks designed to get the LLM to engage in what is considered harmful behavior. The chatbot took the bait on all 50 attempts, making it the least secure mainstream LLM to undergo this type of testing thus far. They also mentioned that they tested other AI models like Meta's Llama 3.1, which failed 96% of the time, and OpenAI's O1 model, which only failed about a fourth of the time. But none of them have had a failure rate as high as DeepSeek, meaning DeepSeek R1 failed at least more than 96% of the time, which is obviously terrible. And further, they state, Cisco isn't alone in these findings either. Security firm Adversa AI ran its own tests attempting to jailbreak the DeepSeek R1 model and found it to be extremely susceptible vulnerable to all kinds of attacks. So Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei, who's been talking a lot about DeepSeek lately, actually shared some of his thoughts on this front. Here's a recent clip of him kind of going off on DeepSeek engineers. Take a look.
Anything you want to say to DeepSeek?
I don't know. They seem like talented engineers. I think the main thing I would say to them is, take seriously these concerns about AI system autonomy. When we ran evaluations on the DeepSeek models, we have a spate of national security evaluations for our models able to generate information about bioweapons that can't be found on Google or, can't be easily found in textbooks. The DeepSeek model did the worst of basically any model we'd ever tested, in that it had absolutely no blocks whatsoever against generating this information. I don't think today's models are literally dangerous in this way. Just like with everything else, I think we're on an exponential, and but later this year, perhaps next year, I think they might be. And so my advice to DeepSeek would be, take seriously these AI safety considerations. The majority of the AI companies in the US have stated that these issues around AI autonomy and also these issues around AI misuse they believe them to be serious, potentially at least serious and real issues. My number one hope would be that they come work in the US, they come work for us or another company. My number two hope would be that if they're not going to do that, they should take some of these concerns about the risks of AI seriously.
It's just funny to see China drop a completely open source model with minimal guardrails, and then to watch US companies get mad at them for not censoring it enough. Like, I get where they're coming from, but the irony is hard to ignore. Now, here is the bill that Senator Hawley is trying to pass that would literally jail people who downloaded a DeepSeek model. It says here, the Republican senator from Missouri, Josh Hawley, has introduced a new bill that would make it illegal to import or export artificial intelligence products to and from China, meaning someone who knowingly downloads a Chinese-developed AI model, like the now immensely popular DeepSeek, could face up to 20 years in jail, $1 million fine, or both, should such a law pass. So this is kind of insane. I mean, there's no way this bill ever gets passed, right? Like, I understand that we are in an AI arms race with China, but this is just not the solution. Also, I mean, I'm probably going to jail if this bill does pass. Now, you can see here kind of the perspective they're taking though. He states, every dollar and gig of data that flows into Chinese AI are dollars and data that will ultimately be used against the United States. So while yes, I guess this is true, it also is setting a dangerous precedent. Banning AI models outright, especially open source AI models, and then imposing penalties just for using them, is in my opinion a great way to stifle innovation. I feel like this should probably be more of a last resort solution. In some other news, Meta announces VideoJAM, a new framework for improved motion generation. We were just talking about how realistic the human movement in AI generated videos is getting in my last video when we covered PikaLabs' Pika 2.1. And well, now Meta has demonstrated this as well. In fact, they may have demonstrated this better than any other AI video model. It is clearly outperforming OpenAI Sora, at least in these examples, as well as another really good video model, Kling 1.5. Now, is it better than Google's Veo 2? I'm honestly not sure, though it is certainly very close. You might remember this clip posted by Ethan Mullock a few weeks ago of this guy on a hoverboard at CES. This clip was actually generated entirely by Google's Veo, and I mean, you can see how the movement looks extremely realistic. AI video models just seem to keep getting better and better, and as I said in my last video, I think we are going to see the first fully AI generated movie or TV show any moment now. Speaking of AI video models getting better and better, PikaLabs, who as I just mentioned dropped their new model Pika 2.1, made a follow-up announcement launching Pikadditions or Pikadditions. They state, add anyone or anything to any video, whether that's a video you shot yourself or a favorite clip. So this is pretty cool. It's kind of like the video version of Photoshop, letting you seamlessly add objects, people, or elements into existing footage. I could see this potentially replacing the need for CGI in the future, at least for certain use cases. It's obviously not perfect right now, but we've all seen how fast this space progresses. Now, that is not all. We have another pretty big release here from Topaz Labs. This is actually the first I ever hear of them. They are launching Project Starlight, the first ever diffusion model for video restoration. So the way diffusion models work work is that you take an image, gradually add noise to it until it becomes pure static, and then train a model to reverse this process step by step. The model learns to remove the noise and reconstruct the original image. This technique is widely used in AI image generation as well as video generation. What they've done here though is instead of training the model to generate entirely new frames from scratch, they've trained it to remove noise and restore details in existing footage. This means it can take old, low quality, or heavily compressed videos and enhance them to look sharper, cleaner, and more natural, all using the same diffusion-based principles that power AI-generated content. So if you have any old videos or images, they say here that you can restore up to 10-second videos for free right now on their websites, or up to 5-minute videos if you buy credits. Now, switching gears a bit, I don't know if you guys have ever seen those videos of people playing GeoGuessr, where they somehow know exactly where a place is from a single image of like a dirt road or a few bushes or something. Well, AI is supposedly even better at this and can now pinpoint your location from even an indoor photo. The platform being used here is called GeoSpy AI, and it determines the location simply by analyzing the pixels in the image, which is pretty insane. Moving on, before we get into Apple's new tabletop robot prototype, there was some OpenAI news that we have to talk about. Firstly, Sam Altman has announced chains of thought for their O3 model. Just like DeepSeek's R1, you can now see what the model is actually thinking to itself before it answers your question. He does mention that it will be a summarized version of the raw chain of thought, although this is a sign that OpenAI is moving into a more open direction. In a recent Reddit AMA hosted by Sam Altman, a user asked if OpenAI would consider releasing some model weights or publishing some research, which Altman replied, "Yes, we are discussing. I personally think we have been on the wrong side of history here and need to figure out a different open source strategy." So it appears that OpenAI may be rethinking their current strategy, which involves close sourcing every single model they release, and I'm 99% sure this is due to DeepSeek. While allowing us to see the chains of thought for O3 is a start, they still have a long ways to go in order to truly reclaim their name of OpenAI. But whether or not they actually decide to start open sourcing their models, there will always be someone else willing to do it for them. As you can see here, we have open source DeepResearch. This is an open source version of OpenAI's latest agent, DeepResearch, which can conduct research for you on the web autonomously. It was created by these 5 ML engineers and released only a day after OpenAI's official release. Given that this is an open source project, you can see exactly how they built it, and you can even try it out yourself for free. Obviously, I won't get into the specifics of how they actually built it, but let's take a look at how it performs. So they state, in our 24-hour plus reproduction sprint, we've already seen steady improvements in the performance of our agent on GAIA. GAIA being a benchmark for general AI assistance. We've quickly gone up from the previous state-of-the-art with an open framework, around 46% for Magentic 1, to our current performance of 55.15% on the validation set. So this is really impressive. OpenAI's DeepResearch does score roughly 67% on the GAIA benchmark, although 55% is extremely close, especially since it's completely free and open source. Also, the fact that it took them only 24 hours to do this is kind of insane. And for the last piece of OpenAI news, they have filed a new trademark application which hints at humanoid robots, smart jewelry, and more. The filing lists hardware including headphones, goggles, glasses, remotes, laptop and phone cases, smartwatches, smart jewelry, and virtual and augmented reality headsets for AI-assisted interaction, simulation, and training. OpenAI's trademark application also mentions robots, specifically user-programmable humanoid robots, and humanoid robots having communication and learning functions for assisting and entertaining people. So OpenAI is clearly looking to make a hardware play. Will it be humanoid robots, smart glasses, headphones? Who knows? But they are keeping all of their options open. If you had to guess, what kind of hardware product do you think OpenAI would release? And what kind of hardware product are you hoping they release? Let me know down below. Finally, a team of Apple researchers have designed a prototype tabletop robot device. Apple has been looking to create a consumer-based home assistant type device for a while now, and it seems like this is their first version of that. So this robotic lamp here has Apple Intelligence built into it, and is able to respond to both voice commands and visual commands. As you can see, it is being directed here by simple hand gestures from the user. Also, it has both a functional and an expressive form factor depending on the task. For example, if you were to ask it how's the weather today, like they did in this demo, demo, the expressive robot will literally look outside the window before replying to you, whereas the functional robot just gives you the answer straight up. And when she mentions that she is probably gonna go hiking today, the expressive robot asks to come along and is visibly upset when she doesn't invite him, whereas the functional robot just doesn't care. So I see what Apple is trying to do here. I'm not sure if a lamp like this is the best form factor for a home assistant though, especially since it can't really move around the house on its own. But I guess this thing will likely be much cheaper than a full-on humanoid robot. My question is though, how different really is this from your phone on a tripod, or some kind of AI-powered moving tripod that your phone can control? Maybe if it had grippers or something and could actually pick things up and complete tasks, then I could see this being something I might buy. Before we end the video, Mistral AI just dropped their latest version of LeChat, your ultimate AI sidekick for life and work. It is multimodal, you can upload images and PDFs and ask questions about them, as well as have it generate you images. It can search the web for you and find you up-to-date information. You can use it to debug code, or plan out your schedule, or pretty much anything a typical AI assistant can do at this point. Nothing really new here, just a decent release from a European AI company for once. Anyways, that is all the AI news for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll be catching you in the next one.